What's up, guys? This is Choknater or Andres. You guys know me from my stream. This is my first like actual Q&A video, and I just got basically a bunch of random questions from Twitch and Twitter. And there's not really a lot of structure to these questions. Someday maybe I'll ask questions specifically about art, specifically about Smash or streaming or work or church or my faith or whatever, like various topics. But this is basically, I just ask people, hey, ask me questions, come at me, and I'll answer them. And I'm going to answer these as honestly as I can. Some of these are pretty trolly questions. By the way, say hi to my dogs back there, Bonzo and Laddie. Laddie's a new dog, only 4 months old. A Chorky, half Chihuahua, half Yorkie. Anyway, I'm going to get to the first question here. What are your goals for animation? And what got you into animating, and how long have you been animating? Actually, there's a story behind this. So my very first animation, I was in 7th grade. We were working on GIF Construction Set Professional. They didn't even call it a GIF or a GIF back then. Like, the program was called GIF Construction Set Professional. And they had us make us little animations. They had us make little animations as a school assignment, like an in-class school assignment, over the course of I think a couple of weeks. And I did stick figures. Like, all of my friends were doing like this sort of storyboard type. The frame is changing. This is happening. But I'm the only one who animated like a straight up scene, like smoothly animated. Because I guess at that point I understood how animation worked. I had watched a lot of cartoons when I was a kid. I played a lot of video games. And I drew, basically your favorite thing to start off as an animator is 2 stick figures fighting. And I did it in GIFs. Back then I didn't have the access to like Flash animation and stuff like that. So I did, 2 stick figures fighting. I could probably find it somewhere in the internet, or somewhere in my external hard drives. I don't know where that first animation is. If I could find it, I'll show you guys. If I can't, then rip in peace, So I've been animating since 7th grade on and off. But during high school, I had always thought about animation, and I knew I always wanted to do animation. I would cut up little pieces of paper, strips of paper to do a sort of flip book type thing. And I was like, okay, after I make the flip book, I'll scan them in my computer, and then I'll trace over them, and then I would practice in my notebooks, like Naruto and Sasuke, like kicking each other and rotating Naruto's head. I was always thinking about animation in high school, but because of how rigorous high school was in the program I was in, and to be fair, I didn't even do well in high school, guys. I was a horrible student. But I was thinking about animation. I was thinking about 2 things in high school. 3 things: church, gaming, and animation. Now, in my life, those 2 things, like gaming, I'm not really a pro gamer anymore. Even serving the church, I don't think it's a bad thing that I have stopped being so active in service in my parish to focus on what I believe my greatest gift is, and my greatest talent is, which is drawing and animation. I'm not saying I'm amazing. I'm only 28 years old, and in the animation world, I have a long way to go. And there are people who might be my age and way ahead of me, and maybe there's some people who, there are obviously guys who are a lot older than me, and they're complete masters. So I'm gonna continue working to get to that point. What are my goals for animation? My goal is to maybe have a studio one day. I think in 2018, it's hard to make really long-term plans. For me, if I were to have a dream that I want to set my mind on, it would be to have my own studio. I don't want to be one of the strongest studios in American animation, Western animation. I don't want to move to Korea or Japan to do it, or even France. I don't want to move to France to do it. I want to do it here in America. And specifically 2D animation. And there are a few studios that I really respect. For example, there's always Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. Your big guys. But then I've just recently discovered there are even smaller studios that freelance to those bigger studios. Like we have Studio Yata, Studio Powerhouse. Studios like that who do their animation here in the U.S. and then they sell their work to bigger companies. I feel like as a starting point, I'd want to join those, but maybe someday I'll have my own and be able to produce even things like films. You want people like TV shows. My interest is in film. I've always loved anime films, movies better than anime TV shows or cartoons or even live action TV shows. I've always enjoyed the long form, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, and I hope someday I can do that. So that's the first pair of questions, and that's like one of the more serious questions, I guess. Fate of Silver asks, how thick do you like it? And if you guys follow my stream, thick with 2 C's, space out the letters if you want, put them in vaporwave format if you want. You guys know I talk about thickness a lot, and maybe in a future video I could do a little demonstration of how I draw thighs. You guys know I like thighs a lot. It's one of my favorite things to draw. I'm no shame about that. I know I maybe have some younger viewers here, but you know, when you draw for animation, you have to learn how to draw the human body. And my favorite things to draw, men and women, is thighs, right? Men and women, guys. It's like so fun. Like the shape of it is just very pleasing to me, for obvious reasons, right? I'm attracted to it, but it's also just like the fun of being able to take what I see and something I like and express it on a paper. And obviously that applies to all body parts for sure. But a lot of people hear me on my stream talking about thick thighs and stuff. I'm doing it for entertainment, doing it for the memes, but so to actually answer the question, how thick do I like it? I mean, I like healthy. I like people who walk a lot, you know, maybe people who exercise. You know, as long as you move that body, that's probably good enough for me. Anyways, Dayquil asks, how thick is too thick? You know, some people would say there's no such thing as too thick. I think, you know, in terms of human bodies, I think if you're unhealthy, and you have a lot of fat lying off of, you know, lying off of your body, like myself and my stomach, you know, you got to work it off. You got to eat healthy. You got to change your diet. I heard it starts with the diet. I heard it starts with eating fruits and vegetables. I'm really into like carrots and broccoli and beets. I really like those tastes. I don't like every single taste. I'm not a fan of like guava, some bitter, more stronger bitter tastes. I'm not really into those, but you know, you got to find what you like. Anyways, I don't want this questions about thickness to inspire me to talk about health and exercise. Anyway, dude, hey, asks, what shows or artists are your biggest inspirations to your style? Right off the bat, I can name the #1 greatest inspiration, and I mentioned this several times on stream and Twitter. His name is Bengus, Bengus. Let me type it out here. Bengus from Capcom. He's an old artist from Capcom. He worked on Street Fighter Alpha 3. He worked on the Marvel series, Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I think his style is like, when I look at it, I see it and I tell myself that's how I want to draw. You know, there's a lot of artists like Yo Yoshinari, artists like animators, animation directors. Obviously, there's Hayao Miyazaki. I love, you know, the Japanese aesthetic. I feel like, you know, I never want to say that Japanese are better than American or Western or European artists. I think that they focus on certain things, and it's traced back to Japanese like 1600s, 1700s, 1800s woodcuts. And it's the way they focus on contour and how perspective is all about, you know, flatness. And see, the thing is, when you go to a Western school and they teach you how to draw a human body, they're going to teach you, you know, shade it, try not to focus on contour, draw the form, express the form. And obviously, you know, Eastern artists know how to do that too, but the way they express it is just the contour. Like, if I'm going to draw a thigh in a Western school, right, I'm going to try to, you know, round out the form and try to, you know, shade it and get the core shadow and stuff like that. But I feel like from an Eastern perspective, or maybe there's a Western artist who will focus on contour, which is, you know, pretty few and far between. You will just draw a line here and a line here, and that's a leg. That's an arm, right? And if you get the contour very perfectly, a viewer can see that. You just fill in the color, I guess, just a flat color. A viewer can see that and already understand that is an arm. And if the contour is perfect, it will look perfect. And I think that's the kind of it's all, not only is it one of the fastest ways to draw, but it's like also, to me, one of the most aesthetically pleasing. I love the flat look of Japanese like lines and color. TJ Rice Paper, is liking traps gay? If you're a man, I've discussed this before in my stream. I don't want to go into the whole rhetoric of this discussion, but I'm gonna say yes. Liking a trap is gay. Is pineapple a valid topping for a pizza? So notice that this question doesn't ask, is pineapple a good topping for a pizza? I think it is a valid topping for a pizza. Yes, it's valid. I know Cassie would hate me for saying that. Cassie Jaws, she would hate me for saying that. A lot of people would hate me for saying that, but sure, it's valid. If people like it, then you like it, you know? It's kind of like New York people, or New York pizza fans saying that a Chicago deep dish is not a pizza. Sure, it's not a pizza in your eyes, but some people think it's a pizza, some people think it's a valid pizza. You know, I can't say that a pineapple is invalid, because that would, you know, that would be contradicted by so many people who think it's valid. Validity is, I think, subjective, right? as far as how good something is, I could objectively say I do not enjoy pineapple on pizza as much as I enjoy other toppings. Have I watched Boku no Pico? No, not yet. I've heard a lot about it though, and I've heard enough. Will I watch it? I don't know. Maybe. Are you a butt man or a breast man? I feel like these are such mature questions. I'm gonna say that if you know me, you know the answer to that question. That's all I can say. Plot or backstory, Kappa. If you know me, you know the answer to that question too. Shout out to the Herald. The Herald asks, plot or backstory. I'm actually not sure what he's referring to, but I think he knows my question to that. I think he knows my answer to that question too. Okay, Psycho Mochi. Hi Mochi. What animations movies do you think are garbage, but people love them, except Frozen? Now, we were having a discussion in my Twitch chat about how much I hate Frozen, and to be honest, that is the only one. I think, like, for the most part, I think I have good taste. Like, if I like a movie, other people like it too. And for the most part, if I dislike a movie, other people like it too. I don't think there's been a movie, because I'm actually pretty easy to please. And for the most part, if I'm gonna like a movie, even if it's mediocre, even if it's just comedy, even if it's just, you know, raunchy, simple comedy, or just, you know, a really simple animation with not much depth. I think Frozen might be the only case. And garbage is a strong word, and it might be a word that I would use in casual conversation, not in professional setting. And I don't know if this YouTube content is considered a professional setting, but that's what I'm going to say. What are your thoughts on too much fan service in most anime? That's a good question. Fan service meaning, I guess, you know, flashes of panty shots, or like people, you know, people wearing revealing clothing, or even men just like flexing their muscles and stuff. Kind of lewd comedy. I think that's what people consider to be fan service, right? Or maybe just when it comes to like action, like just gratuitous, flashy action. But I think that is an art form in itself when it comes to action. As far as lewdness, that's kind of just thrown in. I think it depends. If it's part of your art form, for example, Studio Trigger, Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, what is the latest one? Darling in the Franxx. I haven't seen that yet, but their formula seems to be that sex appeal and you know, just gratuitous, just fan service, and people flashing, you know, stuff everywhere, and just butts and in your face, and just everything. Like, if that's part of your art form, I'm going to accept it. Like, when I watch it, I'll be like, oh, that's funny, and accept it. Some people, it gets annoying because it's like, I don't want to perpetuate that kind of culture, right? But for me, as a viewer, I'm like, huh, okay, that's funny. That's entertaining, you know? And I tend to accept it. So what are my thoughts on it? I don't really care. I think when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay. But I think if someone is more adamant about changing the culture, about how stories are told, then I think more power to them to vocalize that. I personally don't care. I enjoy that people make this art for us to consume, and I'm just going to take it for what it is. I personally, you guys know the way I draw. I usually draw, especially with women, right? I like to draw them fully clothed. I like to draw them, you know, with deep personality. Men, like with male characters, I will draw them, you know, muscular. But I just like that people showing optimal form, I guess. People in good shape. I like drawing that, you know? I'm not saying that I have anything against like representation or like a overweight character or something, you know. I'm not against any of that. I just think what I enjoy to draw is people in good shape. So fan service, it really depends on the art form. If the story is bad and the fan service is in bad taste, you can kind of just feel it in your heart. So that's probably what I'll say about that. So dude, hey, ask the opposite question of Mochi's question. What are some movies you love that people hate? And like I said earlier, usually when I like a movie, other people like it too. I cannot think of a movie that I've had to defend. I can name, though, a manga. So as far as movies, I don't know. But One Piece is something that people don't hate it, right? Pretty much everyone I know that has read it has loved it, or just thought, okay, that's pretty cool, but it hasn't interested me enough to follow through. The thing that people say about One Piece is it's too long. Maybe they don't like the art. They think it's weird. Okay. But to me, as a story, from a storytelling perspective, reading the One Piece manga is the greatest storytelling experience I've ever had in my life. No exaggeration there. Films have made me weep, but One Piece has given me a journey, a full journey from nothing to greatness, and it's barely even halfway done. Like it's just a great experience that I've been able to grow up with. I don't regret having started it at all, but I wish I started it earlier. I started it when I was like 18 or 19, I think. Now I'm 28, so I've been reading One Piece for almost 10 years. And it's only gotten better, and I love it. So let this video be a One Piece advertisement. Fate of Silver asks, if No Debts Forgiven took off and became a big budget project, would you join the animation team? So I told him I would answer this honestly, right? I'm helping him visualize No Debts Forgiven. No Debts Forgiven is Fate of Silver's story. It's like a Western story, an old Western story with it has a great premise. I think it's a great premise. I think if the writing is good enough, if I trust the script, if I read the script and I trust it, I will be on board. If I read the script and it's okay, but you said it's big budget, right? And it'll pay, I will probably be on board if it pays. I'm not gonna lie about animation is my job, or I want it to be my job, and I would say even right now it is my job. I do animation work already, so I would just want to make sure that I'm being compensated for what I do and for the work I put in. I trust the premise. I think the premise is great, and I think for Silver's own sake, he has been telling me that he doesn't want to spoil parts of the story, and I'm like, okay, I trust him to continue developing that story, and when he does reveal things to me, I would be excited to hear about it. But as far as joining it as a project, I would want to know everything, and I would want to know everything and trust it, So that's my answer to that. Nightbot asks, who can relate? Shout out to I don't even remember. Logic. Shout out to Logic. Who can relate? Sometimes you gotta yell that out, guys. I am a panda, new follower. Shout out to you. I'm a panda. Who's your waifus? This is a great question. This is actually a fun question for any anime fan, right? And I think maybe I could probably make a completely separate video on this. Who are your favorite waifus? Who are your waifus growing up, I guess? Growing up, definitely. I feel like I appreciate a lot of my childhood waifus a lot more. Like I'm thinking of Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm thinking of Chi-Chi and Bulma from Dragon Ball. But I think the ones that I really started thinking of them as waifu were Nia from Gurren Lagann. I don't know why. The timid, gentle girl that pretty much replaced Kamina in the story. That was such a weird replacement for Kamina because he was manly and she was like this tiny little girl. But at the end of the day, they had the same effect on Sion to motivate him. Simon, sorry, not Sion. Simon. And then Yui from K-On! Nowadays, I've matured. I evolved to Tsumugi, and now I'm a Mio guy, the Tsundere Mio guy. If you guys know K-On!, it's this anime about these 4 girls who form a high school band. But at the time when I watched it, I was like, Yui is such a simple person, and she seems like she would be a great friend. And I don't remember when I watched it, but Yui as a character is 14, 15 years old, so it's kind of weird talking about that now. But she's a cute character for sure, and I would love to have a friend that's so simple and really cares about her friends, and loves what she does and is pretty good at what she does. So that's definitely, those are the 2 that I think of. I think over time this has definitely changed. I could probably make a separate video if you guys hit me with a comment or like or subscribe or whatever. Just let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video on waifus. Fate of Silver asks, who's your husbando? I think a cheap, simple answer for me would be to say Straw Hat Luffy or something like Vegeta. I think, husbando material, I'm not sure if Luffy would fit that, but these are just guys that inspire me. I think these are guys that work hard. These are guys who are not made OP by their creator. They are made the underdog. See, when you set up your character as an underdog, you root for them. See, the thing about Goku is he was pretty much always ahead, and there were times where he almost lost, but for the most part, because he's Goku, he wins, right? And that's something I've read a lot on YouTube comments, right? And why Vegeta is the best character in Dragon Ball Z, shout out to you, Chris Sabat, you're the best, is because he is set up to be the underdog, and he has to push through, he has to keep pushing. Kakarot is a rival, right? Even at the end of DBZ, the peak of Vegeta's character development was say, Kakarot, you're the best, you're better than me, I've accepted it. And yet, You're the only one who can fight Majin Buu, not me. That's what Vegeta said at the end. And yet, in Super, they brought back the rivalry. Vegeta's still pushing. Vegeta still holds his pride. Like, those are all things I love about him. So, husbando, definitely Vegeta, and Straw Hat Luffy, because they are set up to be the underdog. Even right now in the manga, Luffy is losing a fight badly. But you guys are going to see what happens. Obviously, Luffy being the protagonist, you think he's going to win, right? He's probably going to find a way to win. But the thing about One Piece is that even though Luffy's always going to win, right, for the most part, sometimes he chooses to run away because he knows he's not strong enough. Sometimes, you know, sometimes he backs down because he knows he's not going to make it. Like, Luffy knows. Luffy's smart. He's like instinctively smart, you know? I love those guys. So those are very, very mainstream. As far as waifus and husbandos, I'm sure you guys have your very obscure animes that I've never heard of. Like, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's like I don't have time. I don't have a lot of time to watch all these animes. I have a huge long list of anime I need to watch, and anime that people have recommended to me. If you have anime you want to recommend to me even more, leave it in the comments. That's pretty much all the questions for now. I'm going to do one of these in the future. Hopefully I can make it shorter. Maybe answer just a couple of questions, because I feel like this one went on pretty long. If you guys have any suggestions on how I can improve these Q&A videos, or if you just have any more questions to ask me, leave them in the comments. I'm just kind of getting into this YouTube game, and I'm kind of getting better at it as I go. So hopefully this was good, and hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like. You guys know what's up. Peace out. You guys are going to see me on stream tomorrow, twitch.tv/choknater. You guys see it in the link below. That's it. I love you all. God bless, and see you soon. Peace out.